So what I think we can do here is combine the first two parts of this lecture in the same screencast here, and that's going to be the characteristics of monopolies, and natural versus legal monopolies. So let's start out first with what it means to be a monopoly. What it means to be a monopoly is that you are the only seller. You have complete pricing power. So you are the only seller. There are significant barriers to entry and exit. These are the two most important characteristics, and what it does is the consequence of this is that it allows you to earn sustained profits, and the result is that you are also the price maker. You determine what the price is going to be. No exceptions. And they're not saying anything about whether the product has to be essential or not, or whether the product has to be, you have to be knowledgeable about alternative goods or anything like that. We're just saying you're the only seller of the product and you can't allow other firms to enter or exit this industry. It's the exact opposite end of the extreme as the perfectly competitive firm. The result of this, if we want to see how this looks, is that you may remember when we were talking about perfectly competitive, we had demand and supply in the market, and that for the individual firm, they faced a completely horizontal demand curve. But when it's a monopolist, the firm is the market. So I'm going to put market/firm, and it's a big Q. There's our demand, which is equal to price. But now, for reasons I'll explain in about 2 videos after this, is that the marginal revenue curve is now steeper than the demand curve, whereas for the perfectly competitive firm, it's the exact same. Now, the marginal cost curve looks the same in both ideas, but you can already get a sense of how these look different. And we're still going to follow the marginal revenue equals marginal cost rule. It's just that the consequences in terms of quantity are going to be a bit different. Now, when we have these monopolies, the question is how do they emerge? Like, it would seem to be a pretty great thing to be in if you can make money doing it. Well, sometimes most of the time it's a legal monopoly. Legal monopolies exist because of patents, copyrights, government license. So, for instance, when I decide to, buy my Apple phone, my Apple phone has a number of patents on it, so that other companies can't just copy the Apple phone and sell Apple phones. Apple has a monopoly on their, software, on the way that their things are. If you buy music, those typically have a copyright associated with them, which means that I can't just copy that singer's work and then distribute it on my own. Or it could be a legal monopoly because there's a government license to offer the item. This is a little bit, we have one example here in Oahu where Roberts, the big shuttle bus company, just got a contract to be the sole shuttle provider at the Honolulu airport, and that's just determined by the government picking that bid and allowing them the unique ability to do that. So Roberts Hawaii has a monopoly of providing shuttle service at the airport. Otherwise, we have natural monopolies that surround us. So natural monopolies generally exist because the costs dictate it. So for instance, we all probably use Hawaii Electric or one of the Hawaiian electric companies. Because the cost of running an electric company are so large, it makes sense to have only one company. Or alternatively, where there is only one University of Hawaii system, right? We have community colleges in the UH system, but there is only one public college system, which is basically a monopoly on public education. Now, what this essentially does then for some companies is that not all monopolies fit under these two categories, but most of them do, that continue to exist. Most of these monopolies fall under one of these two categories. There are very few exceptions to this, and these then serve as the barriers to entry and exit. Either you having this legal ability to enter or exit, or the costs are prohibitive to entering or exiting the industry.